Hello, this is Professor Mack, and I'm going to be showing you how to handle the pretest on Chapter 9, question number 8, letter A. And we kind of, in Section 2, in Tuesday's class, on Thursday's class, we kind of got a little bit caught up on a little issue there, and I said let's just stop. We didn't have a whole lot of time, and I told you I'd put this on video. So, I see where I kind of went off track here. And so, for those of you who are not in that section, you're watching this, you're going to probably maybe wonder why I'm kind of talking about what not to do a little bit, but that's because of the direction that I went with the problem earlier. So, what we're going to do is, the first thing is we have to figure out how many different people we have in this scenario. So, it states that we have 5 Democrats. It says we have 8 Republicans, and we have 2 independents. If we take 5 plus 8 plus 2, that's 10 and 5, so that's 15 people altogether. So that's the number of people that we have to choose from in our group. But according to the problem, we can only select a committee of 3 individuals. So what we're going to do is we understand that N will equal 15 and R will equal 3. And so if we set up a permutation where N, P, R is then 15, P, 3, then what we're going to have on top is 15 factorial divided by 15 minus 3. And factorial. And that'll be equal is basically 15 times 14 times 13, which is 2,730. Now, what we had discussed is that this includes repeats. And so we could have put in the factorials in there, but then what we'd had to do is, because this is the total number of possible committees, not how many are going to be just Democrats. This is how many possible committees we can make out of 15 members, and we only want to have 3 people put in that slot. But we said that it doesn't matter whether we have, let's say, 3 of the Republicans or 3 of the Democrats' names are John, Bill, and Fred. Well, if we had John, Bill, Fred, if we pulled that out, and then we did a Bill, Fred, John, that's the same group. So we have repetition in this number. But if we keep the repetition in the numerator as well, then they will both divide out anyway. And so that's what we're going to do, is we're going to leave the repetition in there to make it a little bit easier. So there is a way in which we could eliminate those out by dividing by factorial groups of 5, 8, and 2, but we're going to leave that alone. Instead, what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and come up with what our numerator should be for a probability, because this is what our denominator is. This is how many possible outcomes there are. Now we need to figure out how many favorable outcomes we have. So in this situation, the favorable outcome will be all Democrats. And so what we need to do is we know that there are 5 total Democrats, but there are only 3 spots to use. So now we have an N that equals 5, an R that equals 3. So when we have NPR, that equals 5P3. And so then what we have is we're going to have 5 factorial over 5 minus 3 factorial. And so then what we end up getting is 5 times 4 times 3, which equals 60. Another way, by the way, another way of doing these is that you could just put those into your calculator, and I have an NPR button, so I could just take my 5, hit my permutation button, then 3, and I get 60 as well. And then for this one, I could do 15, my permutation button, and hit 3, and I get the 2,730. The next thing that I do is now I've got a number of, this is how many, including repeats, how many permutations are possible, or different arrangements are possible, of the 5 Democrats in the 3 different chair spots. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take all of those guys and say that's 60 out of the 2,730. And remember how to write probability. So we're going to do probability and then in parentheses all Democrats equals 60 out of 2,730, which we would be done except for the fact that that can be then simplified by dividing each of these by 30. And then I would get 2 out of 91. So my actual probability is 2 out of 91 scenarios will we have all Democrats on a 3-committee chair consisting of 5 Democrats, 8 Republicans, 2 independents as initial candidates for that 3-chair committee.